Looking to transform your family game nights? At Perfectly Picked Games, we specialize in family games that bring everyone closer. Our games aren't just fun. Kids and teens will learn how to take turns, develop basic strategy skills, and understand the thrill of winning and grace of losing. With our exclusive gift of games, you can give months of gaming excitement to your family. Choose a 3-month or 6-month gift, and we'll deliver hand-picked family games to your doorstep every month. And here's the best part. Right now, you can use the promo code GOLDENMOJO and receive 20% off your selected plan. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Use promo code GOLDENMOJO and save 20% today at Perfectly Picked Games.
Welcome to the United States of Paranormal Podcast. Sit down and buckle up for an enlightening ride through everything cryptid, creepy, and paranormal.
Hello, all of my paranormal freaks out there. It is I, Golden J, hanging out with
the Rocker Chick
and
J-Dub.
And welcome to the United States of Paranormal. Listen, since J-Dub's documentary came out March 1st, it has hit 2 million views,
yep,
which is absolutely amazing. But what else is amazing is the outreach of people who have found our podcast and have reached out to us to be a part of the show. And that brings us to our special guest today. Ramona Spencer is with us to talk about all of her paranormal experiences. I mean, pretty much your entire life, right?
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
No.
It's weird, kind of. I remember one day my daughter asking me, are you sure something's just not following you around? Like maybe it's just not all the houses that, that it's something that's following you. And I thought, I never thought about that.
In all honesty, when I read your emails, because we've been talking back and forth for, I don't know what, a little over a month or so.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the things that I thought about was as you being so young with some of your first encounters that maybe you had an attachment that was following you.
Oh yeah.
But to be honest, and I don't want to spoil, and not giving spoilers here, but I'm not sure that you have necessarily an evil spirit as much as I might think you might be closer to having an angel that basically is attached to you. But I'm going to let you get into your story.
Yeah, let her tell it.
We're going to go from there. But
I do know I have angels, but did you want to hear about that too?
I do a little bit when we talk about we'll talk about the apartment and what happened
fire
there, and and we'll go from there. But we'll kind of end that in that area, so and kind of get you up to speed to where you are now. So it's a lot of email. There's a lot of rambling going on in my head right now about different ways.
Well,
but,
now I want to hear it.
I know you do, and I'm going to let her tell it to you. All right. All right, Ramona, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, so I think I was about 12. I was about 12 when we lived in this house. It is in Newport, Rhode Island. It was 105 Bliss Road. And we still had stuff. I mean, we lived there, I think it was just maybe about a year, a little over a year. But anyway, we still have boxes and stuff that was down there in the basement. And so every now and again, my grandmother, who she used to go and go down the stairs, about 13 stairs down into this, the basement, but it was the creepy ones that had like the pull out shelter doors on the outside.
Right.
That's how old the house is. So she started out going down there, getting things from the fridge or retrieving the laundry. And then all of a sudden, it was just like she was sending the kids. She sent my uncle a couple of times. And then I remember her telling him one time to go down there, and he was like, yeah, he said, Nana told you to go downstairs to the basement. He wouldn't go down there anymore. So I would go down and get it. And, you know, sometimes when it's like when you get to the first few stairs, like all the hair starts to stand up and you just get this scary feeling. And that would happen. But then one time when I was down there and I was reading this poetry book, I don't remember why I was down there, probably just snooping around. But I found this poetry book down there, and I knelt down on the floor and I was just started to read this book. And I remember it was like, it was an old book from Rudyard Kipling. So I'm leaning on the ground, because it was a hard cement floor, but I'm leaning on the ground and I'm reading this book. And it was pretty. It was about the birds and the ravens. And, you know, it set a beautiful tone in my mind, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm reading. And then all of a sudden, I just felt like something was glaring at me from from across the room. So I just keep trying to read to pretend that this isn't happening. But in my head, I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? But see, I'm only 13. So 12, I didn't know anything really about demons. In my mind, there's monsters and ghosts is what I knew about then. And so I'm thinking, is there a ghost down here? You know, so I'm trying to continue to read this book. And then I just felt like it felt like a cold breath of air, like right in the back of my neck almost. And I just stood up and I just booked for the stairs.
Right.
And as I'm running, and I don't know how I knew this, but I felt it. As I'm running, this thing was like, it felt like it was right on my heels, like it was right behind me the entire time. And even though I never seen anything, I felt it. But when I ran, I felt like it literally chased me and was like right in back of me the whole time, right up the stairs. And I just flew up all 13, 12 of them stairs, and I slammed that door. And I'm like, I'm never going down there again. And then I figured out why my uncle wouldn't go down there anymore. Why my grandmother stopped going down there and would send us kids. And I guess they all had their experiences, but they were too scared or embarrassed or whatever to say anything to anybody else. But I'm pretty sure everybody in that house had something happen and they knew it, but nobody ever talked about it. Nobody ever talked about it. Also in that house, there was the den, and like, it didn't matter if it was summer and it was 87 degrees out. The den was always freezing cold. It was always cold in there. And they had this, my grandparents had this record player. And I would go in there and I would put on some records and sit, I'd sit in there and listen to it. But sometimes when I was done, I would get up and I turn the record player off and I walk out the door, and then I would hear the music playing again. Like it started up back on its own.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, so I would go in and I'm like, because, sometimes it has like the automatic thing, them old record players. And I thought, well, maybe I didn't shut it off. And so when that would happen, that you would just kind of like, maybe I didn't shut it off. And again, I was only 12 and 13. So I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it as I would as if I was an adult and this stuff was happening,
Right.
Now, did you go back in there and then shut it back off, or did you just kind of let it play out? Yeah. Okay.
No, I did. I went in there and shut it off because I knew that I would get in trouble if I had it on and left it running. So, I had to go turn it off. Plus, I wasn't supposed to be listening to it anyway. It was my grandfather's record player.
Oh.
It was actually his den. We weren't supposed to be in there, but when he's at work, I would go in there anyway.
Yeah, break the rules.
It's fair game. It's fair game at that point. It's like, hey, there's nobody home.
Mhm.
I got some. What? Well, let's see. I don't even know what I would throw on there. Some Bachman Turner Overdrive. I don't even know what would be in the collection.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So
and
anything else happen in that room besides just a record player, or was it
in the
just
room,
a cold spot?
no, it was always the whole entire room, and
Right
it
on.
had a big, large glass back window. So the sun, the sun rays, the light, you should get some sort of heat in there. In fact,
Right.
it should get hot. That room stayed freezing cold all the time. And diagonal across from that, when you look out the back windows, is the garage. It's like a little one car garage. That nobody ever went in there. Nobody ever parked their cars in there. And I think there was stuff from the previous owner, because we were just renting the house. They had a lot of stuff in there. They also had a lot of stuff down in the basement with some like chicken wire. It was creepy looking. Just a bunch of boxes stacked up with chicken wire, almost kind of fence going around it.
Right.
And I remember too, when I would go down the stairs, I would always look and just be wondering, like, what's in those boxes?
I know,
You
right?
know, I don't know if I was being a nosy kid or if something was just kind of drawing me. Maybe there was something in there that shouldn't have been in there. I don't know. But the whole house was really creepy. But the basement, not the basement, the garage, I never wanted to ever like go in there. I've been in there a couple of times, and it was always a weird feeling, kind of like the hairs stand up and you just
Right.
feel like something's in here, but you can't see it. So if I'd be in the backyard playing, collecting rocks, whatever it was I was doing, I would always get my attention kind of like shifted towards it. Like, and not even that I cared about it. I didn't want to go there. It's just something, it feels like you're drawn to it.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
and so
Yep.
I would go over there, and first I'd be this far from it, and I'd just be trying to look in the window, and then I just get a little bit closer. But a couple of times when I did that and looked in the window, I swear I would see like shadows like running inside, and that used to freak me out. And so, God, I want to be careful about this. My uncle him and his girlfriend used to live in the car outside in the driveway. But before it was some family stuff going on. But before that, they used to be in the garage in the car. And then one day they just weren't. Now they're out
Nope.
in the driveway, like literally living in the car. But that was some things that was going on between him and my grandfather.
Right.
But it's just, just strange how they were in there in that enclosed area. And then, that didn't last long.
Hindsight now tells you that something happened while they were in that garage. Yeah. Back then, you're like, you guys are just weird sleeping in the driveway. I mean,
yeah.
Oh,
But
so
you know what? It's like too, some of the houses that I've lived in, it always seems to create some kind of family like drama and tension, to where it's fighting and discourse and discord. And I know that happens to an extent, or on some level normally, but with these different houses, they were just like huge, big, giant blowouts. That's like, it's completely unnecessary.
Right. Right. Now, I can't remember, did you talk to me about, have you looked at that house again as an adult? Did you look back to see if there was anything that ever came up on that place? Or, was there anything?
No. Well, I would always watch some paranormal shows like Haunted Newport and stuff like that to see if they'd ever talk about these houses, but they never do. But one time it was probably like 2012, and I was on Facebook. It was October, so it's like, ooh, scary month.
Right. Scary month.
I forgot how we got onto the subject, but I was talking about 105 Bliss Road. And the girl that lived next door to me, we both were kids at the time. She chimed in and on the thread and said, yeah, that house was that house had, I forgot how she worded it, but she said that house had spirits. It was haunted. And I was just like, oh, you know that? Like, she lives next door. You live next door. How do you know about this house? And she's like, yeah, nobody ever lives there long. It's probably that 1 year lease and that's it. Because I know, I'm pretty sure that's how long we stayed, was only the 1 year. And she's like, no one ever stays there long. It would be nice to, well, I don't know. I don't think even if I went back home, would I want to go back there?
Right.
Be knocking on the doors like, hey, have you guys ever had any strange incidents happen? I don't know.
I was doing this podcast and they were asking, do you have any crazy shit going on in there? No? Okay. So about a year you guys lived there. Now you lived there with your grandma and your grandfather was still alive at that time too when you were living there. Right on. But so about a year and then you guys packed it in and where did you guys head off to then?
Where did we go? We went, actually, I think they got a divorce and me and my grandmother moved to, Tonomy Hill, and the rest of the family kind of split up. I think by this time my uncle and his girlfriend found an apartment. My aunt got her own apartment, and so it was just me and my grandmother. We moved to townhouses.
Right on.
Like in the projects.
In the fun side of town.
And that's where I had a lot of the later experiences too.
Right on.
Those places were built. It's called Tonomy Hill, and I know that it was Indian, Native American at one time. There's this giant stone tower up in the woods. It's a lookout tower. We used to play in there all the time when we were kids, but I never had any experiences in there. But just this real tall tower in the woods that overlooks like that whole side of the town. So all them houses and stuff there, I can just imagine what they built over that.
Right. Yeah. What's underneath?
Right. Yeah. So the second house, I'll just go to when we were, where do we live? Beech Tree Street. Now this is the same townhouses, but like 20 years later, because they knocked them all down and put up these new upgraded projects. That's all I can say. I mean, they were nice. They were like little small houses now, but they had decks and, they were just completely redone. You know how they've been going all over and trying to reface all the things. So I was lucky enough to get in one of those. And one night, I remember my cat, like would just bug out in this house. She'd be running all around it seemed like for no reason. And so I was just thinking like, is she chasing a fly, a bug, something I can't see? But she didn't look like she was in a play mode. It just seemed like I don't know, almost protective, or like she was stalking something type of mode, like prey or something. But it wasn't playful, like she's hitting the balls around. It was just weird. And she would wag her tail in this predatory way. And when she was meowing, it was like, like, you know what I mean? It was just,
She
it
wasn't
was
happy.
sinister almost. And I'm just like, it was if she was going to be in combat with another cat, but there was nothing there.
Right.
But, and then she would stare all up at the ceiling and run all around looking up like she's chasing something that I couldn't see. But I remember one day, her doing this. I was cleaning the hallway, and I kept hearing her darting around, and I'm thinking, because I could hear her claws in my rug, and I'm like, this is a brand new rug. What is she doing? So I'm going in there, and I'm looking to see what she's doing, and she's just in the corner wagging her tail really crazy like, and looking up, going like she was. And I'm going, okay, there's nothing there. And then I got that weird chill, that feeling, because I know she's acting strange, but I don't see anything. And that gave me the chills, you know. And so my grandmother had passed like a few years before that. And she loved cats. She had 3 of them, I think. And I thought, so the first thing I said was, I said, Nana, if this is you, I need you to stop because you're scaring me. Like, at the time, I believed that, spirits would come back and, So anyway, that's what I said. And then the cat just kind of whipped around and chased this thing through the hallway again, and then back into my bedroom, and then stopped right at the window, which was closed. The window was closed, by the way. And the cat, she just stopped right there, as if she chased whatever it was, flew out the window.
Right.
And she just stood there, and now she's standing there waiting for it. She's going. and she's wagging her tail, and she's waiting for this thing to come back. And like, so I'm like, I knew it wasn't a bug or anything I couldn't see because the window was shut. So where did it go? And this cat sees and knows. So she's standing right there waiting, just looking for whatever this was to come back. And so like another time I hung up all these mirrors in the hallway. And the hallway seemed to have a lot of activity. Right. I hung up a lot of, the square glass mirrors.
Yeah.
So I was excited. This is, like I hadn't had a place in a really long time. So I'm excited to decorate and everything. So, I think it was like the second year I had bought all these glass mirrors, and I hung them up, and it was fine. It looked wonderful. The middle of the night, we're in a dead sleep, and everyone gets woken up with crash, just crash. I get up and go out to the bedroom. All the glass is just on the floor, broken, just broken. The mirrors were hanging fine. So I don't understand how they all got ripped off the wall and broken onto the floor. And so that was a crazy moment.
So all of those mirrors that you just put up,
all of them.
It wasn't like a single one or maybe a couple of them. They just all come crashing down.
And they were all still hanging, right? It was just the mirror part, right? Is that how I took it?
Wow.
They were like 12 by 12 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. I had about 12 of them up, maybe. And all of them just on the ground.
What are you thinking, J-Dub? What are you thinking over there? You're shaking your head at that one.
I would have soiled myself.
You'd been gone. But we reason with stuff in our minds too.
Absolutely.
Like maybe I didn't hang them right. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I didn't hang them right.
I keep telling myself I did not hang those right.
I hung them right, but I didn't hang them right. Yikes.
Well, you know what they say about mirrors, I mean, you're not supposed to put them facing each other, because you will be able to see into something you don't want to see into. And
or on an outside wall
an outside wall. Why is that?
So they said mirrors are a conduit too.
Right. Yeah.
But they weren't facing each other. They were all flat on the
face
wall.
against the wall. Yeah.
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 That
My
was
thing
crazy.
was which I think I can't remember. They did it in something that I was watching where they were able to. They put mirrors on each side of a little bit of a room area, and
Oh, so
then
they're like facing each other.
they were facing each other, and then they stared into them, and that's when that's when something came through the mirror and that they could
Oh,
see. And yeah, it's mirrors are a little funky. I'm not gonna lie, they're
yeah.
a little funky. So
Yeah.
Bobby likes to hang the ones in the bathroom. They almost face each other, so I only look into one mirror at a time.
I never heard that about the double mirrors.
Yeah,
I never
it's a
heard
little
that.
trippy. Yeah,
Well, at the house that I lived at, when the investigators came, you know, they were like, "Well, did you have any mirrors on the outside walls?" And I was like, "Well, no. Why?" And they said that could be like a portal to where instead of coming through like a window or a door, they come through
Oh,
the mirror that's on that outside wall because it's like a portal, and they can come not just from right outside, but it can come from other dimensions or places.
right,
And
right.
I was like, "Well, no." But I make sure I don't have any on the outside walls now.
right.
I'm not going through that again.
Oh,
I don't.
that's
Yeah, I don't blame
crazy.
you. I don't blame you at all.
That's crazy.
Oh
So
my!
our last year, we lived in that house for 4 years, I think, 5 years, and it was funny because, like, the year that we were gonna move is when I found out that. So one day I dropped the kids off to school, right? Now it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. I dropped them off to school, come back. I'm on the couch. The blinds, I had the room darkening curtains. They're shut.
Right.
Blinds are shut. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching television. In the back, so the TV was like right here, right? And then in back was the staircase going up the stairs to the upstairs. So I'm watching the television and I literally see a black form walking up the stairs. But it didn't look like it was walking. It was on the wall as a shadow.
Right.
But you didn't see it take steps. It just like it just glided right up the stairs. And I'm going, what? So then I'm looking to the window and I'm like, maybe somehow,
Right.
maybe somehow someone's reflection is reflecting off somehow through the curtain onto the damn wall.
Maybe I didn't hang these curtains just right.
So, well, I get up and I look, I open up the curtain. I'm looking for someone to see if someone's walking down the street or whatever.
Right.
And of course, there's nobody there. I go up the stairs of the house and I'm looking around. There's nobody there. And I'm just like, I know I just saw that. I know I just saw that. So later on that night, I go out in the back in my backyard on the patio and my neighbor's out there. So we're both sitting out there with our little cocktails and I'm like, can I tell you something? And so now I'm talking to her about what I saw.
Right.
And she said, my daughters keep telling me that they see something coming out the wall and going into the bathroom. So we share that wall.
Oh.
We share the wall. So the shadow that I saw went upstairs and I guess through the wall into her house. And her kid's room faces the bathroom. So when their door is open, they can see, anything. And apparently they've been seeing this thing. They've been seeing it too. So she literally solidified that night. It happened that day, but that night she confirmed that I wasn't going crazy. Like, I know I saw that and I wanted to share that with her. And she told me that.
Huh.
She said, my girls are telling me they saw it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So, Sip, sip. I'm glad I'm not insane. Like,
We're all seeing the same thing. We're all seeing it.
Exactly.
We all seen it.
Yeah, that made me feel good to know that, honestly.
Absolutely.
It did.
Absolutely.
It did.
Oh,
my daughters had some stories about that house too, and she reminded me the other day when we were sitting there talking about the spooky, scary stuff that she said, "You don't remember when you and Scott came into my room and woke up me and Kayla and asked us if it was us making that noise?" And I was like, "No." So apparently, and she was like, "You don't remember that?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, we kept hearing the noise too. But I guess this was before they fell asleep or whatever. I don't know. Come to find out, she was telling me it was a ball. It was a ball, like bouncing up against the wall. And when we were woken up out of our sleep out of it, we were listening and we thought they were doing it.
Right.
She had company sleep over that night. So then me and him both got out the bed and we walked over to her room, which was like right there. And we woke them up out of their sleep and was like, "Are you making that noise?" What? They're in there sleeping. We woke them up, was like, "Are you making that noise?" She's like, "No, what are you talking about?" And I was like, "Okay." And so she had an experience later on with the ball that was making that noise. She said she was playing with it. She was throwing it and tossing it on the end of her bed. And then she just kicked it over to the corner or whatever. She said she went down to the kitchen to get something to eat. And the ball rolled right past her in the kitchen on the floor.
Oh
wow.
And I was like, I said, "What?" And she was like, "I was scared as hell."
Oh,
and I was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" She's like, "I did." I'm like, maybe you didn't bounce it the right way. Don't know.
Oh. Okay, yeah, that might ruin my peanut butter sandwich right there for sure.
Yeah. And
my.
She was probably only like maybe 11, 12.
Right.
So, and she reminded me of a lot of, she could tell the story better than I could, but she reminded me of a lot of things that happened in the houses because she lived there too.
Right.
She had her own personal experiences. And she was a kid, she was only a kid then. But I do remember her saying her friends, they didn't want to come over anymore. They didn't want to come spend the night anymore. They were like literally petrified of that house. And then we moved out of that house into another one with the same stuff going on.
Oh boy.
So it's like the kids did all they could to just not be home,
Right.
To not be home. But
yeah, that sucks when you're scared to be to be able to stay in your own home and do everything you do to stay with friends or somewhere else and I mean it's not like it's anything you guys have done. It's just things that happen. It's so crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. You have the moments when you just feel like uncomfortable, but
right.
I guess it wasn't enough to make me say I'm moving out.
Right.
Where am I going to go anyway? When my big break came, then it was just like, oh yes, we're out of here. And then we go and move into an historical haunted house. So,
well,
on
why
Malbone
not?
Road. Bad Bone Road. And I'm like, where do they come up with the names of these places? Malbone. I mean, that sounds terrible. Bad Bones. But that home, that was the worst of them all. And that house literally terrified everyone that was in it for the time that we were in it. And we were only there 1 year.
Right. 1 year.
1 year. As we were renting it. But when we went in to look at it, the landlord's, he's showing us around and everything, and he points to this poem on the wall. It's a creepy ass poem. It's like, if you hear things banging in the night, I'm paraphrasing, you know, if the lights flicker on and off, don't worry. It's just the old occupants of the house. Some weird creepy stuff. And I'm just like, so we're reading the poem, and then we just both, me and her, looked at each other and was like, taking that down. If we decided to take the house, and we did decide to take the house, but so we gave that thing right back to the landlord. So we didn't keep that up, but almost immediately, just like you knew something was there. Something was there. There was this one room that we made into like a study, and there was a door that separated. It was the little living room area, and then there was a little, you know, archway door, and then this room was like a study room, which it looks like that's what it was built to be. There was built-in bookcases and all that stuff.
Right on.
But when we would sit on the couch in the living room, you just feel like someone was staring at you from behind, from out of this room, out of that room specifically. And it was just one of them weird feelings, you know. One day I was sitting there recording. We had moved in. This was only like the third day we were there, and I was on recording back when we had house phones. I was recording my message.
Right.
I said, hey, there's nobody here right now. And as soon as I said that, and it was so loud, it actually recorded on the message. As soon as I said there's nobody here right now, I heard this big old crash. And I was the only one in the house. And I'm going, so I finished up the message. Hey, there's nobody here right now. Leave your name and number, and we'll call you back. And I hung it up. So I went to go look. Now, in the kitchen was really large, but off of it was a half bathroom. And then you had these creepy stairs that went upstairs into another bathroom, which was connected to a bedroom that my son hated. We called it the pink room because all the walls in there were pink. They painted them pink. So I walked to go see what the crash was, and I'm looking. There's nothing in the kitchen. I go in the half bath it had the counter that you put your shampoo and all that stuff on was probably like, I don't know, 5, 6. I don't know. It was long enough to hold your stuff up there.
Right.
So when I had stuff up there, it's not like it was hanging off a little bit and it could have just fell, and I should be like, maybe I didn't put it up there right. No, all this stuff was up there. And so when I recorded that message, that was the crash that I heard. All this stuff just fell off the shelf, shampoo, conditioner, whatever else was up there, down, you know, right in the bottom of the shower. It was just like it was a stand-up shower. But the ledge was like this long. There's no reason why any of that should have fell down, but I thought it was funny that it crashed down right at the point where I'm like, there's nobody here right now. And that it was so loud that when I played back the recording, it was in the background. The crash was in the background. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
You're like, yes, there is. There's somebody here.
Exactly.
I think the real question is did you keep that message with the crash on it on your machine, or did you re-record it?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
That was so long ago.
I think I would have kept it. It was like, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, maybe there is somebody here because they let me know.
Oh, we definitely found out within months that house had a lot going on. So it wasn't too long after being there, my daughter came to me and she said, I feel like I'm being woken up at night and I feel like someone's staring at me from my door.
Right.
And it specifically from my door. So, which I found out later because the same thing after everyone else was out the house, it happened to me too, but it was just in the doorway. It's like it wasn't allowed to come any closer.
Right.
So anyway, and I'm like, oh no, it's okay. it's just the new house. You know, the stuff that we say, even though we've had a couple of encounters, we still say that anyway. It's just the
Right.
house. I'm sure everything's fine. But yeah, she said she was scared. She was scared. She was being woken up at night and feeling like something was staring at her through the doorway. Okay. So I kind of brushed that off, and I shouldn't have, knowing the things, some of the stuff I went through,
Right.
growing up too, but I did. And it came to a point where like everyone left the house. My oldest son left, my younger son had left, and my daughter was gone. And so now I'm the only one here, still loving this big giant historical home that I'm living in by myself.
Right.
And one night I'm sleeping, and the same thing happened to me. I just woke up. It was like 3 a.m, terrified, just terror. I was scared. All the hairs on my body was standing on end, and I was drawn to the doorway, which the hallway was pitch black. So it's not like, it was dark anyway. It was 3 a.m. There was no lights
Right.
anywhere, but I could see the frame of the door, and all you could just see was blackness in the hallway. But I was drawn to the door, and I knew something was standing there in that door, and it felt evil. It felt
Right.
evil, and I was petrified. Oh my gosh, I was so scared. And I just laid there, and I just kept staring at the door. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, whatever it is can't come in here for some reason, because
Right.
it would, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be
Yeah.
at the door. I felt it was at the door. I never saw anything, but that's just what I felt. And then I just prayed, I was like, Lord, please help me. Send me an angel. Jesus, I called on Christ.
Right.
And then I felt like an angel was there. I could feel it. I never saw it, but I could feel it. And I could feel like it was just over me, like, protecting me.
Right.
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 But
Yeah.
that thing went away. It went away. And it just felt like looking back on it, like a true life spiritual battle in that sense. Even though I didn't see anything, I could feel everything. Like I felt
Mhm.
when the angel came, when I called, and I asked Jesus to protect me. And then I knew when that thing went away, because the fear that I felt was gone.
Right.
Mhm.
And that was a big eye opener, because I felt like whatever it was in that house, or whatever was, it kind of picked off all the weak ones first. And we were talking about the kids, and
Right.
they all just kind of, and then I was the only one left, because I never had an experience like that, to where, like it was coming after me now. I always felt maybe something staring at me, or, I had the crash thing happen,
Right.
but it never tried to like personally come after me until everyone else was gone. Now it was like, oh, okay. But
So, how much longer did you stay in the house then after that?
well, we had to stay for till the lease was up. But the crazy story is, I had to go into warfare over this house, because we still had to live there. And so I went around. Well, first, let me tell you this. I started to be nosy. Like, we went down, there was definitely something in the basement, but I went down there, and I set up like a recorder. It wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't the stuff they use today
Right.
when you're ghost hunting. This was just a regular old school little pocket recorder you press play. And I was hoping to get something on it, and then I took pictures. Like, I hung up these curtains down there, because we had a pool table down there. Mind you, nobody ever played it, because it was down in the basement. It was freaky down there. You could feel whatever was down there. So no one ever went down there, but I did try to make it look nice. And like, I curtained off the pool table, because this house had hooks like hanging down from the ceiling. And I don't know if these people like maybe fished and then hung there. I don't know what them hooks were for, but that damn basement was creepy. It was creepy. Not only the stuff that was like down there, but just the feeling of it.
Right.
So I tried to cover up like that back wall and where all them hooks were hanging with I just curtained the whole section off so we can be in the pool table that nobody ever played because nobody
Right.
wants to go down there. But one day I went down there and I just started snapping pictures. And I wish I still had the camera or even the film. But I caught this demonic face. To me, it looked like a witch. My daughter just said it just looks like a demon. But it's a face that I captured in the curtain in the picture. So after I got this and started looking through the photos, I saw it. And I brought it to her and I'm like, look at this. And she's like, oh. She said, I'm horrified. Can I take this to school? I want to show everybody. And she was horrified, but she did want to go take it to school and show everyone. And I'm like, sure, if you want to. Yeah. It was crazy though. And she said that they were telling her that it was fake. You guys faked that somehow. I'm like, I didn't even know how to do that then. You know, I could probably do that now. But this was in 2010. I didn't know how to do that. But we did. We caught this face in the curtain. It had black eyes. You could definitely see the eyes and then like the shape of the face. And it just looked evil. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. But it just looked evil. To me, it looked like a witch. But yeah, she took it to school and showed a lot of people, and they accused it of being photoshopped. I think is what they said. That's Photoshop.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So a few months after that, I'm not sure if anything had happened. Oh, it was the thing with me being woken up and frightened the way that I was. So, I called someone from the church that I was attending at the time. And I was like, look, just go around your house, get some oil, plead the blood of Jesus, order that thing back to wherever it came from. You can do it. Okay. So I did. And in doing that, we're using the anointing oil and putting, the sign of the cross, like over the windows, over the doors, over my door. So we had done all that. The activity kind of subsided. I mean, there still was some, but it wasn't as much, but we hadn't stayed there too long after that. But he was showing the house. And when you grow up there, you kind of know everybody. So the people that came in to look at the house, I knew this couple. And they're looking at it, they're feeling it, they like it. And I'm sitting in the chair going, man, should I tell them what's... Because, they're walking past me and it's like, I want to be like, I wouldn't move in here if I were you, and they're with the landlord. So, and I'm just like, damn, I felt wrong, not letting them know.
Right.
But it really wasn't my place. But I did hear them whispering as they're walking. They was like, what are these crosses? What is this? What is this all over the doors? Like, the crosses, the oil, because that doesn't go away unless you wipe it off. And I could hear them like discussing, why is this all over here?
Right.
But later, probably like a year or so later, I got in contact with her somehow. She sent me a message and was asking me about the house, basically. They had problems too, and they didn't stay. They didn't stay there long either. They
just 1 year.
I don't even know if she finished her year.
Right.
But yeah, they had problems too. That house was bad.
Well, that's like, when we moved out, we had a realtor, and we told the realtor what was going on, but when the next person bought the house, we never saw them. We would go sign off on the papers, and 3 hours later they would go sign on the papers, and it's like we never. And it's like, but I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do? I mean, they're supposed to disclose that now, though, right? That's law now, right? That they have to disclose.
Not in Indiana, I don't think.
Yeah, it's in specific states. I think that there is something there. Federal law says you have to disclose if there was a death in the house, but they don't have to tell you if the house is haunted. Yeah. I do believe that's the loophole there, but and
that's weird.
My understanding is in certain states, if you ask if it's haunted, they have to tell you in certain states. And I know that in the state of Indiana, they don't have to tell you.
Well, what if they don't believe in that stuff? And hey, the house is haunted, and somebody asks them and they're like, I don't believe in that. It's not haunted.
I understand that. I understand that. Listen, all I know is when Gunnar was buying his house, that was one of my questions. Is this house haunted? And she looked at me and she goes, I can't tell you that. And I'm like, oh, well, I was like, I don't even understand that. Yeah. Come on.
Tell me.
You can tell me, but I don't know that she actually knew one thing or the other, but it is what it is. Hey, I do want to talk about the fire a little bit. Can we talk about the fire?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're going to kind of backtrack in the story because you talk about the house, this last house you lived in, and now all the kids have kind of moved out. The fire actually happened prior to you guys being in that place, right?
Yeah. I was in my 20s when the fire happened. And so for one Christmas one year, my grandmother had given me this flowered votive. And what I didn't know was the little flowers on the end of the crystal votive that she gave me, they were plastic, and I didn't realize that those could catch on fire.
Right.
Well, I didn't think about it. Right. I just didn't think about it because it's like, who makes a candle votive
holder
with plastic on the bottom for a tapered candle? So it never crossed my mind that, this is going to burn down and these are going to catch on fire. But one night I was just in there, like I was reading. I was trying to read this Bible that I had stolen from this hotel at this. It was a swabby party that we went to. Look, I'm in my 20s, okay?
We're not judging. We're not judging at all.
The club after, and so they left before us. It's like, yeah, meet us there. We're like, okay. So we're in the mirror, and then I don't know. We just was rummaging around the room, and I saw the Bible in the thing, and I'm like, oh, that's mine. So, I ended up taking it home, and I don't know, and now we're talking like this was months later. I just decided I'm going to read this.
Right.
So I lit the candle thing that my grandmother got me for Christmas, and I'm laying there. So this was probably like in January, February by this time. And so I'm trying to understand, the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened up it. I think I was reading that Proverbs. They was talking about the woman and her feet go down to hell. And I'm like, oh my God, are they talking about me? Because, that's how terrible, I thought I was. I don't know. We were wild growing up in the projects and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what? I'm going to take a break from this right now, collect my thoughts. So I put it down. I go in the kitchen and make something to eat. And then I sit on the couch and I start watching TV. Well, apparently I fell asleep. So I'm in like a dead sleep. And then I hear, get up. And I woke right up. I'm not easy to wake up. You know what I mean? But it's just like, I just hopped right up and I'm going, wait, who said that? Because, it's just me and my kids here. It was a male voice. And I'm like, who said that? turn on the light. And this voice was stern. It was very stern, but soft. Turn on the light. So I reached over and I flicked the light up, and all I could see was smoke just billowing out of my bedroom, and the whole ceiling was just covered in thick black smoke. And I said, oh my God. And then I remembered that the candle, I remembered in that instant that that candle was lit. And I ran in there, and it had, my dresser was wooden, my bed, everything in my room at that time was wooden. This was the 90s, right? So everything was wood. And the dresser was literally burnt in half. This whole half was burnt up, and the bed to the middle of my bed was caught on fire. And it was just blazing. And my son was in the bed. He was like 6 months at the time, just inches from those flames. And I'm like, oh my God, I run. I pull him out the bed, and then I got to run to the other 2 rooms and get the other kids out. So I grabbed them, and now I'm out in the hallway. Now I didn't have a phone, so I didn't have a way to call 911 or the fire department. So now I'm banging on my neighbors' doors, because there was 4 apartments per floor, and there was 3 floors. I didn't know how this was going to spread, and I'm banging on her door. I'm like, wake up, there's a fire. You got to call the fire department, call the police. And so I just banged and woke up everyone so they can all get out their building, because there's only one way into your apartment, and then just 2 exit doors downstairs. And like I said, I didn't know how this thing was going to end up. So before I know it, we're all out on the curb, and everyone's out of their houses. You know how it is. They hear trucks and ambulances, like, oh, what's going on? So now we're like standing outside. I know our whole building is standing out, and I'm just watching them bust my windows and spray water all through my apartment. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I just got all this stuff. And see, that's my mind. I was in my 20s. That's where my mind was, on my stuff, that they were all ruined. I was like, I just paid off my Rent-A-Center couch. Like, I own it now. Now the shit's burning and water. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's where my mind was. So I'm having these thoughts, and I'm like, everything I own is gone. Right. And that voice said, look to your left. And on my left was my baby, the one I had to pull out the bed. Look to your right. And on my right was my daughter, and then my son was standing there too. Mm-hmm. And the voice said, you're going to be okay. And I was just like, yeah, but that sucks. You know what I mean? Yeah, but that sucks. Because I'm just, my mind's on my stuff. But God's telling me, look, we just saved your life, and you were able to get these people out of the building too. And it was a beautiful thing. But I could definitely tell you, anything I ever lost, because I've lost a whole lot in my life over and over again, He has definitely given it back 50, 100-fold. Like, God has definitely been good to me through.
Yeah, they always say He has a plan. Everything you go through, His will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just, going through this stuff with the spiritual realm and like with the demons is definitely for a reason. We haven't walked into that purpose yet, not fully, but we've done things here and there with it. But I definitely appreciate the things that he's brought us through, the situations and stuff that have occurred, because it's real. That's the reason why I want to just share my testimonies to people. Like, this spiritual realm is real. Mm-hmm. It is definitely real. And it really is that battle between, the good and the evil. Because I honestly realized, like, I had to, using the name of Jesus really works. It really works. At least it has for me. Right. You know what I mean? And I'm not just using it just to be using it, but you know.
It sounds to me like he's looking out for you, 100%.
Oh yeah.
So, well,
God is good.
Ramona, we need to wrap this up.
Okay.
I am so appreciative of you being able to come on and share your stories with us and with our listeners. And it's been amazing to meet you and to email with you, and then tonight to be able to talk to you and
Yes, thank you
get
for
to know you a
having
little bit.
me.
We so appreciate you.
I love the show, by the way. I love
Thank
the
you.
show.
Thank you.
I do.
We like to have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's
everybody, thank you for listening to the United States of Paranormal. We so much appreciate all of our listeners, and we appreciate Ramona for coming on today. Go check out our website, UnitedStatesParanormal.com, where you can find all of our merch, all that fun stuff that you like. Well, you can't buy the vintage shirt that J-Dub's wearing right now. That is the Dolltober shirt that we put out a couple years ago.
Oh man!
For our house, I know, right? It only comes back every October. But yeah, go check it out, and of course, you can always find us on Patreon, patreon.com/TUSOP. And if you have any other things you want to talk to us about, United States Paranormal at gmail.com. That's how Ramona got a hold of us. So it works.
I appreciate you having me on. It was a pleasure meeting you all.
You
Yeah,
too.
nice to meet you too. Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys, we're out of here. So keep it spooky, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the United States of Paranormal podcast. Check us out at UnitedStatesOfParanormal.com, where you can find our Spotlight of the Month, Fan of the Month, and all of our amazing merchandise. Or you can find us on social media at Facebook at the United States of Paranormal, Instagram at the United States of Paranormal, and YouTube at the United States of Paranormal 1795. And don't forget, we are now on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/TUSOP.
Please check out the other podcasts in the Golden Mojo Entertainment Network of podcasts. The Call Guys, Golden Image Podcast, Indiana Chiefs Fans, Golden 80s, The Gridiron Kings, Murd Nerds, and A Quart of Books and Booze, all of which can be found at goldenmojoent.com or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
And if you have a location or a story that you would like for us to check into, please email us at the United States of Paranormal at gmail.com. Please like, rate, and subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you for all of your support. Bye.